Well, we didn't get our low on the Friday, so we need to look at this as wave 4 and then wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 with one more move down through to here. Now, the volume for some of these big stocks like Apple here, we could see that it closed up on its low here. And the same with Amazon here, just as examples. So we're not seeing, a lot of volume confirming downside movements in these markets. However, if we're going to look at this, let's just look at all the possibilities, shall we? So if we look at this, we're looking at this as one with an A and a B and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, trying to find the low here. And this is our target area here. So we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. We'll take a closer look at that on the S&P video next. However, the next count down would be we've looked at this before, which is on the 10k here, looking at a bigger move down. And this one's not that silly really, because when we look at this here as wave 1 or wave A, and then an A and a B wave here, and then a C wave coming deeper down into this area through here, it's not so silly, because when we think about the US dollar here, so the US dollar, we're looking at this with the US dollar, we're counting 5 waves down here for wave 1 or wave A, and then an A and a B, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 into the 50, 60% retracement level area for this return here, and then we'll see a move down. So it can move up into either of these spaces up here somewhere. We'll just continue to count that. And there's a very, when we look at the Australian, the euro and the cable in terms of FX, we can see that they have very clearly got 5 waves up where we've got 5 waves down here. So the likelihood of this being corrective is very high. And if this is going to give us this move up here as the ABC correction, and then move down from this point, well, then that puts a really good bias on this one here, because in this instance here we've got, well, 1 and 2 here and going into the third wave here, and we're, in a day or two we'll be deeply into that third wave, and then we'll have the fourth and the fifth. The first wave took 1, 2, 3, 4 1, 2, 3, 4 days, so we could expect that to be 4 days. We could probably sit on this for 4 days, and then would probably need another 3 to 4 days here. So it does give you a bit of an idea of how much time we need to get up into that particular space to finish off that. And that would also give us this move down here as well, roughly sort of speaking. So it's not too far off at that particular point. The only there's probably other counts, but I'm just going step by step. The bearish count, which is on the 50k here, that would look at the markets like this, and we would need to look at all of this down here as wave 1, back for wave 2, and then the third wave normally comes in at the previous lows here with a fourth and then a fifth wave of equal length to wave 1, give or take that few points, but that would be the bearish count for the markets. But it's a bit tricky to take this count on board, especially when you see, as I mentioned, the FX market supporting a bullish move for this. Still, the bond market can bring this down too. So if we just quickly, where are we here? Back into this area through here. So we've got the 10-year notes here. They're likely to continue down lower with these, so down into this space while the dollar pushes higher. If we look at the yields pushing up as well, I think the 2-year yields are interesting because they're actually sort of on this daily chart here, they're coming quite close to the tops here. So that means that the 10 years and the 30 years will be lagging somewhat, but we've been looking at this in various ways, but we, in both cases, looking at it as a wave 4 here, and yeah, so further upside for this in line with the dollar moving up there as well for that. So we could also, another way to look at the markets is to count 5 waves up into this space here, so that could also help us with our timing as well within the markets. But anyway, they're the 3 sort of, you know, present counts that would need to take on board. But like I said, I prefer the bullish count, but of course I can be wrong, and I prefer the bullish count. So not so much this one, but this, I mean, this one here coming down, I know it's a little bit sort of odd, but this one here is the A, the B and the C here, looks a little bit sort of odd, but it does put us in line with the whole FX market following the money, so to speak, and also the yields as well, the time that they top out. And so there's a pretty good case for this, so we'll just keep a bit of an eye on this. If we look at this as, if we go back to, because I haven't updated that here, if I go back to this this move here, and we look at this as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 down here, anything below that, then we'll need to move over to the into this particular count here. That will take us down. I'll need to adjust this a little bit, but tweak it up a little bit, but then we'll need to look at it in this light here for this. That means that there'll be a deeper correction for some of the stocks. So with Apple here, for example, we've been looking at an ABC pattern, and this is another case where, you know, there's a it's not set in stone, but there's a good case for 5 waves up here, you know, rather than 3 waves. But I know that Apple can be a little bit tricky, because this move up here also, you know, could be viewed as an impulse wave as well. So we need to be a little bit mindful. Apple can move back lower into its 50-60% area for this. And yeah, based on that, we're looking at, let's just move in and have a look at this particular count. So it can move down here, but I am just like the S&P looking for one more little low to come in to finish this off just here, because we had to rearrange wave 4 here because it got a little bit complicated. But there's a good case for 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 coming down into this low currently. So from that wave B up here, looking down at 1, 2, 3, 4 here, then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we'll need to look for another low coming into play, and this one, this wave 5 here, can be the same length as wave 1 roughly, just to give you a bit of guidance there. So that's all I need to do, is just really wait to see how this plays out here and how we build up from here, what we get here, if we get a corrective pattern or an impulse pattern. So it's just going to take a little while. I mean, I was hoping that we could just, you know, just go wave 4, 5 here. It's a little bit close on the low here, but maybe I didn't even have that there. I can't remember. Let's just have a look at the 100 ticks. And but whichever way we went, we really needed that 150 as the support. So yeah, this low just didn't really cut it below this one here for a wave 5, but it did give us 5 waves, so it was possible. So we were looking for that support there, but it's not there. So we have to look at this, you know, re-look at it, and this is what we're looking at for Apple, and most of the other markets will be the same but different. Amazon here, we can look at Amazon, the same as with wave 1 and ABC coming down here. There's definitely going to be some nice support at 90, so we'll just see how that holds up. Of course, there is a bearish count with this, so that's on the 50k here. That's looking at it in terms of an A and a B and a C wave up here, and then moving down, extending a 3rd wave down here into making a new low here. If we look at this on the 1000 ticks, which is the other bearish pattern, so from the top here, we'll be looking down at 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2, and continuing down at this point. Now, like the other markets, I expect this to move down. There could be 2 moves here in terms of, because the other markets were looking at this as 1 and 2 and then 3, 4, 5, but here we could look at 1, 2, 1, 2 here. So slightly different count on this one, but on the bullish count here now, this bullish count, looking at it like this. And I mean, all we're really looking for in both cases really is is a trade setup, and we just don't have that. We're not going to get it in the next session, so we won't be, we were looking for long trades on Friday. They didn't play out, so we need to go back to the drawing board and revisit the situation. So the current situation is, I know that fits okay. So we still look for one more low coming into play here. Now it's going to get a bit bumpy into 1, 2, and 3 here, so just be a little bit mindful of that. But we have to search out for the low here in Amazon. Nvidia here held up well. There's good volume. Don't see any sort of selling volume there. There's a couple of different ways we could look at this. I mean, I could put wave 2 here, but I don't have a nice impulse wave here, so we're going to have to look at it a little bit differently. Probably the A, the B, and then 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down here. Normally I find that this is, to me, a bit of an overshoot pattern here. So normally the distance above here will equal the distance below. Oops, that went out of control, that thing. So let's do that again. So the distance above, just roughly speaking, and just take this with a pinch of salt, can be the distance that can come down here. That's the overshoot pattern. We don't talk about it too much, but because it's not that common. I mean, it is, but not more than the other, less than the other one. So it doesn't stop at the level here. It just goes straight through. Sorry, wrong one. That's the bearish one. So it doesn't stop at the level here. It just goes straight through. But eventually it will find that level, whatever that level is, as the support over here, and then you can build in for the long trades. But we'll try to pick it up down here and see if we can see some impulse waves and a trade set up in this particular space. But yeah, I mean, just roughly speaking, the distance above here is normally the distance below in that case. So didn't stop here. So yeah, we'll just see. It's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down into 222 or something, 223. So if you want to hold on to that, well then that's what we're up against. But yeah, looking quite bullish overall. Meta platforms. Now I'm trying to figure out an ABC pattern for it. There's different ways to count this up here, of course. We could look at it as an ABC pattern as well, but what I'm not sort of sure on is that, I mean, if Apple's going to have a low in, right, with Tesla and all the others, then I'll have to kind of look at this as some sort of ABC pattern into here, and it's going to finish into here. I can also look at this as a wave 4 coming down as well. There is a bit of a count too for this, that we could look at it as wave A here and wave B over here as well. The main point here is that I don't have a long trade set up at this point. So, and this could be viewed in different ways. So we'll have a look at those ways. First of all, we can have a look at the bearish count for this, that whole move up. It's a bit outdated. So looking at this as an A and a B and a C here. I've got it as the A wave here, looking for it as a B wave and a C wave up here for the B wave. But this could also be a B wave here as well. I think that might be on the 1000 tick area here. So yeah, looking at it from the low as an A and a B and a C wave to the upside. And this is kind of interesting here, really, whichever way, I think it's important to look at all the possible counts and then remove them. So we could look at this as wave 1 here, then an ABC for wave 2, well, to here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here for the third wave, the fourth wave, and then down for the fifth wave here. That's not finished yet either here. That needs to come down Probably a couple actually, because that's wave 1 here and wave 2 to here, or 2 to here. I can't recall. I have to have a closer look. But it can present like this. We could also look at this as an A wave and a B wave here as well on the bullish count. So going back to the bullish count here, looking at this as an A wave finishing off here, then a B wave, and then a C wave here for wave 2 that could come down even further in. So it'll be interesting to see how far it actually comes down. In terms of an alternative count here, we've had this as also wave 4 here, and that's the 38.2%. So it might just come down to that, you know, to that 38% retracement level and then move up from there. And then if that's the case, you know, I've got to squeeze out some type of corrective pattern in here. So yeah, I mean, if it's going to follow Apple and those sort of stocks and have another low and then move up, then we have to go with that, of course, you know. So just got to kind of spend a little bit of, just give this a little bit of time. Let's go into 100 ticks here. I know it's a little bit confusing, but I have to, you know, if I'm not sure where I'm at, I have to look at all the counts that are possible and then work it back from there, but also try to understand, because some of these stocks are a little bit tricky to count sometimes, you know. So you've got to kind of think of, well, if the S&P 500, if the S&P 500 here goes down deeper and takes this low out here and then moves up, where's that going to leave all the stocks, you know? Or if it's going to just do this here as an A and a B and a C wave here and then move up from here, well, we have to be prepared for that, you know? So yeah, I know it's a little bit confusing, and it would be nice to say, well, this is it and that's that and we're going to do that, but it's not like that all the time. So you have to work through the scenarios, and at the end of the day, what we're looking for is the trade setup. So if this was the case here, we want to see 5 waves up here, nice 5 waves that we could buy the pullback and then start to move in. If we only get 3 waves up here as a corrective wave, and we know that we're going to come down further at that point, you know. So it's just a step-by-step process. We know that, this is a case of sort of buy the dip, so to speak, but we're going to be more refined about it than, just piling in and holding your breath, so to speak. So we need more. In this instance here, in this little area down here, it appears to be a little 5-wave structure in here. I mean, I could put the low here, right? I can see how I could do that, but it's more likely to have the low over here, and we will need to look at this as sort of a 1 and 2 here. I'm not sure which is the high here. Looks like 5 waves at that point, so I might need to put that over there. So this one could actually have a deeper move here. I mean, I can see it in a slightly different way as well. I could put wave 1 here and wave 2 here and have this as wave 3 here, and then an ABC for 4. And then down for 5. That's how I get. So I'm just a little bit unsure about this one. It just seems like it's got a little bit more to come down. So I'll just watch it for a moment. We don't need to rush in on this just yet. So we don't have that 5 waves to the upside. And Netflix was one that was reasonably clear that we had to come down further. So yeah, we'll call that wave 4. And then we'll have to look at this here as wave 1 and 2 here. So we'll need to come down further in this. So we'll be bouncing on the 300 for this. But even when we get the bounce, you could buy it on the bounce. It's always, buying on support and selling at resistance is the basics of trading. And there will be a bounce. There should be a bounce. A high probability that there'll be a bounce off such a large number. But what I'm more interested in is not so much the bounce for day traders, but I want to see if we get 5 waves up here, that we can actually get a trend set up off that 5 waves here and manage our exposure as we move up here, because we we'll get, if we get 5 here, it means we'll get 5 over here, but we may just get 3 here and that will come down. So we need to manage that initial risk at that stage. So, but in the meantime, I believe that, I mean, I could put wave 5 here for that, and that would be, 3, 4, 5, but wave 1 was a bit longer, so I don't think I need to go there. And also too, large numbers tend to pull the market towards itself, so it's more likely that we'll see further downside for Netflix. Enphase, as I mentioned, the structure in here is doesn't really add up for me, but if I can sort of compare it to, just go to the Australian market, this is a large nickel stock, for example. With this here, we've had this A, B, and 1, 2. We need the third wave here to come in, finish off the fourth here, and the fifth here. This is a bit like lithium as well. Okay, so this is pretty much the metals and copper and all of those things as well. So I'm kind of thinking that we should be looking at Enphase in line with that. Now, I know that Enphase doesn't use any nickel in its, what do you call them, inverters and so on, but they're in that battery business, aren't they? So they'll all of those, it's an industry thing, isn't it? So sure, there's, not everything has to be the same, but they'll be in the same boat, so to speak. So I think that there's lower moves to come here. I'm just not sure here. I mean, I can label it, in terms of having a bearish count here, but there's issues with it. So I can count this here as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. But the problem with that is that this wave 5 here is a little bit smaller than this one, but then we had the spike on here and that sort of thing, and so, but 1 and 2 here and 1 and 2 here possible. We'll see how it plays out here. It's slowly sinking into this number and slowly checking it, and it's under this level now, and it had that will support, failing of support, retesting as resistance. Now it could pop higher up here for all of that. You could look to short it under here if you wanted to, but yeah, it's I mean, I could put it in as a low over here as well, but that doesn't, I won't go there with that just yet. But there's no long trade here just yet for this. And Tesla is snaking across the 200 nicely at this point. So doing everything it's supposed to be doing. A bit like the other markets, the S&P could possibly see another low in here for this. I mean, it's possible to look at this here also too as the A, B, and C wave here, with wave 1 here for this, and then an ABC for wave 2 here, and then moving up. That's possible. I can't rule that out, but it's more likely to be something like this, and we'll just see how that plays out at that point. So I won't go into the intraday there. Nothing. If we get support on the 2, then we'll be looking at the long side. Otherwise, we'll expect move down here. Like I said, the volume that came down in a lot of these markets with the move down on the Friday doesn't really sort of show good selling volume, even though they were down. It was kind of like the news that came out from the events that occurred last Friday. So what do we have this week? We have durable goods on Monday, consumer confidence on Tuesday, ISM on Wednesday, jobless claims on Thursday, and that's about it. So really Thursday will be the one, I guess. Right, so that's Tesla and Google. So Google is in a very weak situation, really, isn't it? You know, this is the low here, and it's probably one of the worst, one of the worst in the bunch, really, in terms of testing for new lows, really. So I still like to stay with it, you know, because, you know, if just looking at like if Tesla pushes up for a third wave and Amazon goes with it and those sorts of things, then it's likely, you know, there's likely to be, you see how that was quite close to this low here? Well, this one could be over there as well. So this might pick up some type of support here, and then we get that push up here. So it could just be reoccurring patterns. And yes, I expect further downside here, but we could push up from here. Now, I know it's a little bit of a long shot, but if the S&P pushes up, you know, I know we've got that second count for the S&P based on the US dollar pushing up and the yields pushing up. So we could easily make a new low coming into here. It's not difficult to, where's our 50K count here for this? So, you know, looking at this as an ABC pattern, it works out quite nicely here, you know. So it could certainly, you know, make a new low here and still not disrupt the rest of the market, so to speak, you know, especially if the S&P 500, for example, if we go back to our alternative count on our 10K here, that takes us down in a C wave here in line with the US dollar pushing to the upside there, well then Google can make a new low and then you know, push up at that point, you know, so and catch up at that point too, you know. It will probably move pretty quickly at that point through here anyway, once folks see what's going on. So we'll just see how this plays out with this. So just going back to, I'll just go to my 5K, which should have a bullish count in it. So we're looking at it basically like this, with wave one here, an A wave and a B wave and a C wave coming down here. Now, I know it's a long shot and, you know, you probably have an opinion of it being more bearish and all the rest of it. But at the same time, I've got to kind of allow it to play out as well. So that's what I'm going to do, and then we can revisit it in another way. So much the same as the other markets. So, well, slightly different, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to come down here. So hopefully this group 2 area here is going to support this market back to the 90. So support in group 2, and then if, the big if it can find support on the 90 after testing lower, then we can look for long trades building in this side over here, if that's going to occur. So we still need, you know, we still need to see, you know, and we need to see this, we need to see a nice 5-wave structure here, then we can work off that. So it's all part of the trade setup that we're looking for here. We're looking for a turn. But if we get, you know, if we get 3 waves up here, well, then we can't go long at that point until we get those 5, you know. We get 5 here, we can move into this one, but that's where the risk is, you know, because it can come down at that point. So it's not like, we'll need to be extra careful on that one. And a bit the same with Microsoft as well. We've been looking at the A, the B, and the C wave here. It's obviously with all trends, as you know, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you can see that this section here is the middle of this particular trend. So you kind of know that it's in its later stages over here. Now it could get a little bit messy. I've just labeled this the same as the others, the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5 down here. So we'll just see, and we've got this nice 250 here to work with later on, so we'll just see how that plays out. We do want to see 5 waves up in one way or another. We want to see that as support. So we've got a lot of things, you know, a lot of help in the setup to go long if it's indeed going to play out like this, you know. So we'll just see how this plays out. That's it. And Berkshire Hathaway, so you can have a look at the low volatility stocks on as the indices and so on. There's plenty of them. They've all got pretty much the same pattern. I think that if I put wave B here, then we'll need to look at this as 1 and 2 here, and then all of this is the third wave. So I still think there's one more move here before we get any sort of upside here. Once again, I mean, if this market, comes through here and then gives us some type of pattern here that's corrective, well, then we'll be looking at the short side and we'll come down further at that point. But as far as the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 here, and coming down for the 5 and then moving up at that point, that's a reasonable call. So we'll just wait for that. It's not like we can go short here anyway, I mean, we can go short if we get this, if it locks under here, but we're not there yet, so we can't really go long, we can't go short, we just need to be patient, that's all, and wait it out. So with block here, square, it doesn't really have the best count. We're looking for it to move up, and yes, it has moved up, and it hasn't really, I mean, it's got 3 waves up here, so we could look at this as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave into the 50-60%. You may be long here. You definitely need to look after that position at this point. We want to find support on this level. I mean, Shopify and PayPal are pretty weak at this space in their sort of big accounts. Let's just have a quick look at that for a moment. Let's just go to. First of all, I want to go and have a look at Goldman's for a second. So it's the daily chart. So Goldman's actually pushed up. Where's Morgan's here next to it, of course. So Morgan's pushed up nicely on higher volume. So the finance sector showed some strength in the market. So that's good. But when I have a look at, just wondering if I had PayPal and Shopify here. I thought that I did. Oh, there they are here. So PayPal, in the bigger picture, is a bit like Google. It's really quite weak at this point. This is a daily chart, and Shopify is not far behind it either, a bit better. I mean, of course, this here can be an A and a B and a C to the upside, or 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here with a nice ABC pattern, the same as Square. But they don't shine a lot of confidence. I try to stay sort of non-emotional about the situation, and I try to look at both sides and to figure out if it's a corrective move or could we look at it as a larger impulsive wave to the upside. So I try not to get lost in what people I just try to stay with the Elliott wave and give that perspective. That's what I try to do. So, but we see, it takes a bit of intestinal fortitude to go against your emotions and to stay a bit balanced on things. But the next step here really is to see how this holds up. I mean, if we can look at this as bit tricky with that spike, but definitely anything under this low here, any move back under that, and it's probably done and dusted at that point. I'd probably lock in some money at this point if you're long at this point. But yeah, look, it's looking okay, and like I said, the banking sector's okay, and we're looking for an A and a B and a C wave here. So we've got that. That's okay. We don't want it to come any lower than it is at the moment with this. So we'll just see how that plays out. And BAC here, it didn't move up like Morgan's or Goldman's, but it has moved up a bit. But I just can't see how I can finish it off. I mean, I've been looking at the A wave, the B wave, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 1 and 2. Nice third wave down here. and just seeing if I can count this in any other way, if I can push that over to there and look at that as 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not finishing off on its lows here very well. I'm not quite sure how to count it. I'm not sure if I need to put like wave 1 here and 2 here for that, you know. If this market, if it pushes up here and takes that out, then that's going to be helpful in calling a low in. But see, that's the last high here, and we can pretty much, you know, look at that being 5 waves here. But the problem is that this low here is below this one, so I can't call that wave 1 to the upside. So it's part of, it's like a it's like something hasn't finished to the downside, so nothing's adding up here for me just yet on this, so I'll just have to wait on this. We're in our box here, so that's good, and the closest largest number's 34. It's a nice number to work with. So we'll just see if this can you know, drop below the level here and then find its way up here, and then we'll try to figure out what we got here, because it's not looking that good at the moment to, you know, nothing concrete to look at. It's all a bit sort of iffy at this point. So I would imagine that we'll come down further in this, but I just don't know how to count this. I mean, 1 and 2 probably, and 1 and 2 at this point. I mean, that would be the logical point at this stage. We'll just see how that plays out. But yeah, can't do anything on this one just yet. Alrighty, that's it. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.